he's the guy. It doesn't matter if lyrically he's not the greatest rapper that's ever lived, because the stats say he is. It doesn't matter if he's stealing music from lower tier artists, because the stats say he can. It doesn't matter if he's going to different cultures and appropriating cultures without the consent of the people who live there, because the stats say it's whatever.
Young black man, just be who you are. Young black man, you were meant to be a star. Young black man, keep yourself away from violence.
Back at you with another video. Academics is seemingly coming to terms with the fact that this Drake beef is taking a toll not only on Drake, but on the numbers. And I want to preference this video with saying, kind of off topic, I'd love to make a video paralleling Drake and Donald Trump. And I say that, and I know some people's going to be like, how do you even... But if you really look at the way their bases cater to them and cape for them, and how they are as people, how they interact with their bases as people. Now, with Trump, it's very overt. It's outwardly. He says it right in them. But Drake does the same thing covertly. He uses his bass, not to the extreme of Nicki Minaj, but there's a parallel there in how these two men are reacting to their downfall to some extent. As we're seeing with Drake, we're seeing a real, like, I don't want to say crash out. I think that 100 gigs was a crash out, honestly. Like, you don't just leak that much content. That's years worth of content that was probably going to be used for a documentary. Like, I know Drake fans are going to sit here and act as if, oh, nah, he just gave it to the people. Drake has never been not calculated. All of that is a documentary's worth of information. That is something that, like, when Kanye dropped that doc that, on Netflix, that's something Netflix would have used and put together to tell the life story of Drake. All of that is important to Drake's legacy. You don't just leak that onto the internet unless you're really feeling like the pressure is on your back. So I don't know why Drake fans is making it seem like Drake just wants to give it to the people. That's not how it works. That would have been worth so much money. So much money. That would have been worth a lot of money. So, yeah, Academics is starting to really come to terms with the fact that Drake isn't doing as well as he thought he was. And you can see it in this clip. So let's look at it.
Everybody's saying, Drake might not be Drake no more. They're saying that Drake might be flopping. I am watching the numbers of the 100 gig thing. People are wondering what the sales on this are going to be. Now, me personally, I don't care technically on how these are going to do first week. Now, granted, a 3-track EP could make the Billboard 200. I don't expect these to be a top 10 song. I expect Drake to have a top 20 song, which I believe should be It's Up. If only It's Up, which by the way, there's some streaming data on it already. If this is the only one that make the charts, we might have some issues. We might have some issues. Okay, let me look at the streams, at least on Spotify, has been looking. Not the strongest, I'm going to be honest.
Not. Look at Academics' face, man. Like, there's no argument here to be had. Like,
5 million, yeah, even a 5 million, I think Drake does better than that. I think Drake does better than that on an announced one. Definitely still will chart, but even the Lotto one is actually the lowest, and they have it's the lowest. It's only 2 million. Now, granted, 2 million is a lot of fucking streams, but we're talking about Drake, right? It's not the best streams, I'm going to be honest. But these were supposed to be freebie songs. They're now up on streaming. It feels like a different climate.
All right, so you obviously could see that he's not handling it well. Now, let me allow, I don't want to say grace, but here's where my conspiracy brain comes in. Drake leaked some music, and let's just talk about the numbers. He said 5 million streams. Drake has roughly, let's do a quick look up. Has roughly 75 million streams. So with that being said, I think, me personally, if you've been keeping up with the whole 100 gig drop, and then the label coming in and saying, hey, nah, this is not your content, buddy. That's not your music, buddy. You can't just drop that when you want to. You don't have that luxury. See, when everybody was bragging about the $400 million deal Drake signed, no one was bragging about the fact that that was a 360 and he gave away all of his control, all of his artistic integrity, all of his rights, and all of his licensing ability. No one was talking about that part. And in that part, that's what happens when you just think you're going to just release some shit to the fans and let them have it. Now, my conspiracy brain says the label is upset with Drake. And those numbers are indicative of what Drake would do without the push. Without Elliot Grange or whatever that dude's name is pushing the button on every release. You don't have 75 million monthly listeners drop some songs willy-nilly. Because where Akademiks says, it's like, oh, it was just supposed to be some shit he put out. But that makes it even more enticing because it's not something that was planned out. It's kind of something he gave to the people. So when you put that on streaming platforms, you would think that it would hit. It would keep hitting. I do think that the label is upset with Drake, and the label is like, okay, let us remind you what it is and what it'll look like without us. And that's where you get 5 million streams. That's where you get 2 million streams, which is amazing for most artists. But remember, Drake is only rated on the stats. See, when you talk to Drake stans, nothing else matters because the stats say he's the guy. It doesn't matter if lyrically he's not the greatest rapper that's ever lived because the stats say he is. It doesn't matter if he's stealing music from lower tier artists because the stats say he can. It doesn't matter if he's going to different cultures and appropriating cultures without the consent of the people who live there because the stats say it's whatever. So with that being said, I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, what do these stats say to you, Drake fans? What do these stats say to you? What does the 5 million streams, the 2 million streams say to the guy who's been getting 1 billion streams and 1 trillion, zillion, killion, pillion streams? What does that say to you? Now what's the excuse? What are you going to say? Oh, Kendrick didn't drop. Kendrick didn't give y'all nothing. Listen. What does that say to y'all Drake fans? I think realistically, we really, maybe he's not the guy and maybe the machine made him. Maybe you don't love him, you love the stats. Maybe it's not the music, because if it was the music, those songs wouldn't have 7 million streams altogether. Just saying. With that being said, I'm out.